I know her.
We're going.
Good evening, everyone. I will now call this meeting of the Derry School Board to order. I'd like to invite our friends from East Derry Memorial Elementary up to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you very much. We will start with the roll call. If everyone could introduce themselves, starting from my right.
Jane Simard, Business Administrator.
Michael Flynn, Superintendent.
Brenda Willis, School Board.
Michael Thiele, School Board Chair.
Jen Theroux, School Board Vice Chair.
Jenna Paradise, School Board Secretary.
Jamie Crew, School Board.
Karen Rand, School Board.
Good evening, David Clapp, School Board. Anthony Henry, Pinkerton Academy Liaison.
Thank you, everyone. Our first order of business will be the consent agenda. For tonight, we have the public meeting minutes of March 24th, 2026, the non-public meeting minutes of March 24th, 2026, the manifest in the amount of $13,661,415.80, of which $4,207,691.15 is general payroll and $9,453,704.65 is general expense. The following professional staff nomination: Eric Kobelens, Special Education Teacher, Gilbert H. Hood Middle School. The following professional staff resignations, effective June 30th. Aaron Boyko, Special Education Teacher, South Range Elementary. Jillian Godbout, Elementary Classroom Teacher, Grinnell Elementary. Miranda Littleton, name male, Art Teacher, East Derry Memorial Elementary. Olivia Taplin, Math Teacher, Gilbert H. Hood Middle School. The following post-deadline notice of intent to retire, effective June 30th. Kathy Stropel, Reading Specialist, East Derry Memorial Elementary. The nomination of Kathy Kennedy for the position of School Board Deputy Treasurer. And we also have the election of professional staff for the 2026-2027 year, the nominations being brought forward by the Superintendent. So to explain this item, RSA 189-39 calls for superintendents to nominate and for school boards to elect all teachers employed by the schools in our SAU. Mike has provided us with a list of teachers so nominated for 2026-27. These are all returning teachers verified to hold a valid, appropriate credential. Moving forward from tonight, new hires for next year would be considered individually. So do I have a motion to accept the consent agenda?
So moved.
First by Jenna.
Second.
Second by Jamie. Is there any further discussion?
Mike, you mind? Can I say something?
Sure.
As we nominate staff for each year, it's always a big moment for any superintendent. Just wanted to thank the staff for hanging in there with me so far through 11 months as we begin adjusting to certain norms and regulars. But I'm excited to offer these contracts forward for the board. It's a big deal, and I think our biggest prize in New Hampshire are our staff, and it shows daily with what they do with our students. But I just wanted to thank them.
Yeah, I would echo the same. Welcome back to everybody who is returning next year. So with that, we have a motion on the table. So all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Our next order of business will be a presentation from our friends at East Derry Memorial Elementary. So I'll turn it over to everyone and Principal Hill.
Good evening, everybody. I want to start with thanking everybody, the students, the families, and you guys for having us. This was one of the easiest school board presentations I've ever done. I almost feel uncomfortable because I'm not nervous, because these kids with Katie Bacheri, Kelly Cogan, and Stacy Campbell created a student council that hasn't been at East Derry. Kelly could remember when the last time there was a student council, and they came together, and I wanted them to make a presentation of what they did, how they became a member, what they've been doing, what they plan on doing, and they literally got together at their meeting, broke up into groups. They created the slideshow, and they are ready to present. So I couldn't be any prouder as a principality. So thank you for having us.
Hello. I'm used to being I've never presented at this. It's been at West Running Brook. So we decided to do a student council. This is the second year that fourth grade has been the oldest at our school, and I just thought we should do something to honor them. they're going to explain how they got here and what they had to do to get into student council. Luckily, my new teammates, Katie Beccari and Stacy Campbell, joined me in this endeavor. It's been really exciting. I've stayed after for a lot of clubs, ski club, etc. This is a club where I literally can sit back and watch these amazing kids decide what we should do, really take charge. I mean, they made the slideshow. I just spruced it up a little bit, but they are ready to present. We're going to start with Lily. You might know this is Lily Theroux. Actually, can I ask Lila and Simard to go first? They're going to tell us the members of this. Yes, Lily, right here. You got to talk in the Lila. You got to talk in the microphone. They're going to tell you the members of our student council because they're not all here today. So I just want everyone to get a mention.
Amelia Squitzy, Morgan Hammerman, Amira Payan Minea, Costas Keynes, Juliet Reynolds, Taylor Kelly, Ruby Bossy Pantos, Cece Tuttle.
Good job.
Julian Martinez, Vera Gobey, Freya Skianis, Hadley Maglione, Olivia Farland, Ellie McDonald, Lizzie Ulrich, Lyra Dominguez, Lizzie Theroux, Madison McCabe, Madison Tagney, Reagan Welch, Lila Burns, Delaney Montiero, Nora Faferna, Emerson Hansen, Vera Lynn Boyne, Liam Vega, Charlotte Sinclair, Genevieve Ward, Calvin DeLance, Logan Lord, Seamus Guancy, Lily DeShane, Paige Cassie.
So Lily's going to read the notice that we sent out to students.
Attention, fourth graders wanted. Students that love EDMES, students that want to be leaders, students that like to help their community, students that like to help other students. We would like you to join the student council at EDMES. How we became members of student council. Step 1, we had to write an essay on why we had to join, on why we wanted to join. Step 2, we had to get teacher signatures to recommend us. Step 3, we had to return our papers on time.
Ruby, come on up. Step 4.
Step 4, the teachers had to check over our papers to see if we deserved to be in student council. Step 5, they announced our names on the intercom to tell us we got in.
We're a little excited, you guys.
Meetings. We meet on Monday. Our first meeting, we set goals and talked about our club's expectations. Each meeting, we have activities we complete. Okay. We made posters to hang around the school to help kids understand better what our school expectations are. Fourth grade student council members work so hard on the posters so kids can be safe. These posters were used to keep them in check and to show them how to control their impulses. They were also used to strengthen school community and cares. The students? Students will follow expectations better if we use fun posters. CARES Assembly by our student council program.
So one of the things we've done at East Derry is we all take turns doing assemblies for CARES. And this year I volunteered the student council and they ran the entire assembly.
CARES Assembly. In the CARES Assembly, the whole school comes together to watch a group performance in front of the school. The whole CARES school is split up into color groups. And everyone has a CARES cooperation, assertiveness, responsibility, empathy, and self-control department. During the assembly, we do plays/skits and sing songs. There were 5 different things we do in a assembly: cafeteria, recess, hallway, bus, and classroom. And every class does one performance, kindergarten through 4th grade.
What we did in the CARES Assembly. Mrs. Campbell's class and Mrs. Beccary's class presented. This is what we presented. Mrs. Beccary's class presented. Mrs. Beccary's class did a skit where they had someone not showing self-control by listening to impulsive thoughts, and in the end they showed self-control. Mrs. Campbell's class did a bus skit where there were some children on the bus showing what not to do and a problem. In the end, they learned how to show self-control.
What Mr. Secretas' class and Mrs. Cogan's class presented. What we presented. Mrs. Cogan's class did a song about self-control. It was to the song Materia Go. Mr. Secretas' class did a skit on self-control in the hallway, and Mr. Secretas' class skit, they had a student running in the hallway not showing self-control, but then the other student set an example for self-control.
The teachers did a skit about how to show self-control during lessons. First, they set an example of what not to do. Then, they set an example how to show self-control. Then, when the teacher's presenting the lesson.
How did we act?
It was pretty funny to see them misbehaving.
And we didn't even rehearse. So Mrs. Hill and Mrs. Breen wrote this song. It's our school spirit song, or as the 4th grade team calls it, it's our fight song.
You ready? 1, 2, 3.
East Derry kids say we can learn, we can learn, we can learn. East Derry kids say we can learn all day long. Teachers and friends all cheer hooray, cheer hooray, cheer hooray. Teachers and friends all cheer hooray all day long. East Derry pride goes up and up, up and up, up and up. East Derry pride goes up and up. Go Owls, go!
Helping our community, helping 68 hours of hunger. Facts about ending 68 hours of hunger. 6.5 million homes in America are affected by hunger. This program gives students food to bring home over the weekend. Each child is given 2 breakfasts, 2 lunches, and 3 dinners. Our donations help fill these bags. This is our second time our school has participated this year.
Here are some foods that we are collecting. Canned food, like snacks like goldfish or crackers, cereals like Cheerios and Puffs of any kind, ramen, and any non-perishable food. This means no fruit or vegetables.
We made posters and the boxes for the food drive so people in our school can donate. We are going to have a competition and see which team can raise the most food. The winning team will earn an extra recess.
What's next for Student Council? Ellie fundraiser.
We are planning to have a fundraiser for dogs. Our therapy dog, Ellie, is our inspiration. As we did for the food drive, we will make boxes so kids can donate dog supplies. This will help families and shelters in need. We are hoping to get many donations.
Kindergarten orientation.
We're planning to help kids now in pre-K to feel comfortable going into kindergarten. We will show the kids to their classroom and help teachers in kindergarten so the younger kids will be less nervous or overwhelmed.
Here's some pictures of us cooperating. Thank you for having us. Any questions?
Any questions?
Anybody have any questions for the kids?
I do. What do you guys think you learned most about being in student council?
Can you repeat your question, please?
What do you think you learned most or took away most from being in student council?
I think we learned most that we have to show cares if we want to be and participate in any after-school programs, and being nice to people and just having a good attitude and stuff. Any other questions?
I don't have a question. I'll just make the comment. I mean, I have a lot of insider information on the East Derry Memorial Elementary School Student Council. I've actually heard it be likened to mini school board. And that's a very, very, I think, accurate way of describing it, because you're trying to make your community better. So I think it's great that you guys have all stepped up in that way. And I appreciate you coming here tonight, taking time from your evening to be here.
So when you guys get to West Running Brook next year, they have an election for the student council. So you get, you get to write a speech and campaign, and there's an election in your advisory. You think you guys are going to be interested in doing that next year? Yeah. Well, that's good. Let's start writing those speeches now.
All right. Thank you, everybody. We appreciate it.
All right. Thank you for coming. All right. The board will take a 5-minute recess.
Richard, I fully expect to see you dance.
Welcome back, everyone. Our next order of business is delegations and individuals. At this time, residents of Derry, parents of currently enrolled Derry students, and employees of the district may address the school board on matters that pertain only to school and district business for a period of time not to exceed 3 minutes per person. As a reminder, the board welcomes input. However, questions are not entertained during the comment period. If you would like to speak, please come up to the microphone at this time and state your name and address for the record.
Get that. Good evening, Derek Anderson, 50 Stark Road, Derry. I'm here this evening to advocate for the creation of a sports program at West Running Brook Intermediate School. A recent cross-sectional study of 28,000 children, including 5th and 6th graders, showed a positive effect on academic performance when they were in sports. Systematic reviews have showed school sports resulted in better academic results by increasing motivation and investment in school. One study specifically saw increases in academic success in English and math grades, which I think we all are looking to improve those. The Washington Post recently reported on a study showing students who participated in sports are a third less likely to miss school. Findings suggest students had stronger peer connections and increased sense of purpose in school. One key note is that sports participation in 5th and 6th grade may improve school attachment early before the typical 7th and 8th grade disengagement occurs. We're already seeing that we can't field some sports in our middle school, which is interesting because we thought once we combine the 7th and 8th graders for the whole town, we wouldn't run into that problem anymore. But right now we don't have the younger grades to support that system. Obvious improvements in physical health and well-being while reducing the chances of childhood obesity are key. Sports have shown to be associated with lower anxiety and better mental health. School sports offer increased equity and inclusion over club sports, which can be expensive and have demanding travel requirements. By developing a hybrid intramural interscholastic model, we can utilize a no-cut system, limited practice volume, and emphasis on skill development. Basically, a developmental feeder system for our middle school. Funds already exist as part of the CBA's Appendix A. If by chance we don't use all the HOOD funding, we could use that as a feeding system to start the program. We could also fund drive if we needed any additional equipment, which we probably wouldn't need to start, but if we did, I'm sure there'd be fundraising efforts. So I'm here to request the school board create a committee to develop a hybrid 5-6 grade sports program. The committee makeup could be the AD at Hood and a couple of coaches from Hood, a couple of interested West faculty that might want to be coaches, some parents, some school board members, and admin. And that's all I have for you. Thank you.
Thank you, Derek.
Good evening, Brian Churchello, 6 Rollins Street. Just an observation and some constructive criticism, I think. I don't want to be looked upon as the bad guy, but when we're talking about the scores for the English and reading and math, we already know the proficiency scores there. And I noticed that we have on our website, SAU 10, goals. And when I go to the website and read, I don't really necessarily see goals, like a goal setting. I see mission statements of what you want to achieve, but I don't see, for instance, if we have a proficiency score of 48 in reading, maybe a goal that we can try to strive for would be 50 or 51. That to me is a goal. I don't really see anything in the website, and I don't know if you've discussed that in the curriculum side of things, but I think it's important to set those goals and to strive to make those numbers. That way we can see what works, what doesn't work. So I just wanted to share that with you. I'm hoping that maybe there's some discussion about that later, and maybe you kind of can incorporate that into the website and try to strive for that. So thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Couldn't pass it up, could you, Richard?
Well, he said something that piqued my interest. You know?
You have to dance first.
Well, I already told Mr. Flynn that yesterday I went to see my orthopedist, and I wanted to talk to him about my right ankle, because there's times when I can't put any weight on it. And he was around when I had my left ankle replacement, so that's what he wanted to talk about. So, so now I still don't know what I'm going to do about my right ankle. But anyhow, I thought Brian, when he brought up the topic of proficiency, that's a topic that I think a lot of people don't really understand what it means. You know, I believe when I go on the New Hampshire ED website, they talk about there being 4 groups in the proficiency. You know, like there's below proficiency, extremely below proficiency, you know, at proficiency, extremely above proficiency. And when people use numbers like, oh, they're at 48% proficiency, that I don't think really describes where the child is in a proficiency rating. You know, so I would suggest that perhaps at one of the board meetings, you have somebody put a presentation together as to what proficiency really means, because like I said, I've looked at the proficiency scores, and there's situations where there's like 10% in the extremely proficient category, and that means that that's really good, even though it's only 10%. And when you've got, you know, 30% in the non-proficient, that's really bad. But I don't think that a lot of people understand that. So that's would be my suggestion. And no, I can't dance. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard.
Hi, David Preventure, 26 Milton Moore Road. I just want to speak out against the idea of like trying to hit specific numerical goals. There's this concept in statistics where when a measure becomes a goal, it stops being a good measure, right? It's like, oh, you want to get certain percentage to be, you know, above the proficiency threshold or whatever. Now you know, get people fudging their numbers to try to hit that goal. It's not going to be good at measuring what you're trying to measure there. That's all I wanted to say.
Thank you. All right, I am not seeing anyone else come to the microphone. We will move on with the meeting. However, the public comment period will remain open until 7:23 p.m. If you wish to speak prior to that time, approach the microphone and I will recognize you at the next break in the agenda. Our next order of business is student member updates. I will turn it over to Anthony with his Pinkerton Academy update.
All right, so I have a couple things I want to share. First, I want to share the top 10. You may have seen we announced our top 10 academic students for the senior class, and they are as follows: Alyssa Kamel, Sophia Cahoon, Alexander Fody, Brooke Benz, Jack Welch, Rebecca King, Olaf Holmes, this is a name, Yanni Kalampis, I think, Boris Hadjiev, and our valedictorian, Arv Mahan. And I especially want to recognize Alyssa Kamel, Jack Welch, and Arv Mahan. I know them very well because I have been in class office with them for all 4 years. And I have to say that has probably been the best experience of high school, is doing class office, helping to plan events like prom and organize community events like the Veterans Day breakfast, which, Richard, you're there every year, right? Knew it. But that really has been a great experience, so shout out to all 10, but especially those 3. And we have a couple fundraising updates I want to talk about. Day of Giving is April 22nd this year. We host this every year where basically we encourage all those in our community to give, whether they be alumni, parents, students, families of prospective students. This is a day where all the benefits will go to the Pinkerton Fund to fund things such as clubs and sports and things like that. We typically do very well, and you're going to see information on the website for that very soon. Lastly, I want to talk about Astrothon. Who here knows Astrothon? Yeah, so we did very well this year. It is hosted by Student Council every year. Basically, students stay up all night at Pinkerton and play games to raise money for Boston Children's Hospital. And this year, they raised $39,319.47. That is my update.
All right, thank you, Anthony. I mean, congratulations to the top 10 students at Pinkerton. That's the biggest school in the state. It's pretty impressive feat to finish in that top 10. And fantastic job on Astrothon, too. Such a great cause. All right, our next order of business is deliberations. We have 4 items tonight. I will turn it over to Mike to speak to the last day of school for students.
Thanks. I get a lot of emails every day, but the number one is, when is the last day of school? So I think we finally cleared the hurdle of any type of inclement weather day, and with that, earlier this year, we revised the policy to allow us to shift to instructional hours rather than total number of school days. In your board packet, our principals did a great job of doing the equation that the state of New Hampshire provides us in regards to calculating actual instructional hours, what counts, what doesn't count, passing time doesn't count, lunch doesn't count. At certain ages, advisory counts, recess actually counts at the elementary level. So with that, the numbers are in your packet, but we clearly meet the minimum standard of hours. So with that, I would ask the board I'm going to make a recommendation that the last day of school be Wednesday, June 17th, which will be a half day, and we will meet all instructional requirements by the state of New Hampshire. I'm still working with the adults, which are contracted for the number of days, so I'm working with DEA on finalizing the plan with them for the remainder of the school year. But if you have any questions, please ask. If not, I would make the recommendation to the school board to change the last day of school to Wednesday, June 17th for a half day.
Thank you, Mike. I know we talked last week, and I haven't been here that long, but I don't remember us ever voting on the last day of school. But I understand the argument for why you want us to do it. The state statutes do require the board to provide standard schools for a set number of hours, and the schedule that we sent at the beginning of the year is tentative. So this is essentially a vote to finalize that last day on that tentative calendar that we approved at the beginning of the year. So I would accept a motion to set the last day of school for students as Wednesday, June 17th, 2026.
So moved.
First by Jen.
Second.
Second by Jenna. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries 7-0. And I would say that is probably also the number one thing that I get asked too, is when's the last day of school? So Mike, we'll keep it with you for school start times.
Yeah, we've had a lot of stuff kind of hanging out there, and now we're getting to wrapping it up. One I'm probably most excited about is started early on with discussions with the board, but when I was onboarding, it was really an opportunity to reevaluate start times, right? I know the discussion began around some busing concerns, but the real deep dive in the evaluation of the data that we received was what's best for kids. Sometimes we start to lean away from that, and I think that was a challenge because even though logistically this makes a lot of sense, we wanted to make sure it encompassed the right move for all of our students. So in your packet is an executive summary from where we started back in November to the 4 meetings that the committee held. Updated you along the way. The evaluation, we had nearly 1,400 respondents. I think it's probably our most responded survey in quite some time. The committee did some work diving through it. No change is easy for everyone, specifically on the family side. It can be a significant change. What we're presenting this evening is an adjustment of 15 minutes at the elementary level and then 40 minutes at 5 through 8 level. Some of the core logistics that will help is we'll be able to run three different bus fleets, well, one fleet, excuse me, three different routes. So dedicated to elementary, dedicated to West, and dedicated to Hood, and then they get to wrap back around and dedicate to Pinkerton. So it's really going to help our efficiency. We won't have kids hanging out at Pinkerton anymore for a long period of time. We won't have our students arriving super early at other schools for athletics because the other schools aren't even out at that time. And then more importantly, in the morning, I don't know, I have 3 kids. I know the extra sleep is always a benefit when you're coming into school. So a lot of positives here. There was some discussion around the challenges that may happen, more specifically with the memberships we work with. So DEA and ASME, I always mess that up, but once you reach a threshold of a certain amount of minutes, you have to discuss impact bargaining. So I know we'll get to that next, but they've been a pleasure to work with. They've been outstanding. So in the packet, you'll see specifically, I just want to say it again, elementary would start at 8:35, intermediate would start at 7:20, middle school would start at 7:15, with a dismissal at elementary at 3:10, a dismissal at intermediate at 2:35, and a dismissal at the middle school at 2:30. So I would love to open it up for any discussion. Jen, do you want to add anything from the committee level?
No, I think you covered it. I mean, the Start Times Committee brought together stakeholders starting in November. I think we met over a series of 4 or 5 meetings. Dr. Dancy and Dr. Crawford led that. There was a lot of thoughtful discussion covering the areas that you highlighted. I do think that there will be people who have challenges that they face, logistics and things, but I believe that this is in the best interest of certainly instructional time at West Runningbrook. That was a very major concern of mine. I also know it was a very major concern of Mr. Fox's, so I think he'll be happy. Yeah, he gets his 15 minutes.
Interesting that the 15 minutes kind of came into play in the discussion of instructional time. So we weren't able to count all of them. So 15 minutes a day added up to 4 school days, essentially, something along the lines over 180 days. So every minute counts in our profession. More specifically, another part of the analysis is we have the shortest school day of the local areas. So most other towns have about 15 to almost 30 more minutes longer a day. So every minute counts, and this will help for sure.
So, Mike, I noticed the committee was split on whether they wanted to recommend this policy. Outside of the life event challenges, was there any other things they brought up that they had concerns about?
Interesting, if you're taking it at face value, there were people that reclused themselves from the vote as well. So, and it was anonymous. So I don't know where maybe some of that fell. I know I didn't run the committee, Joe and Clifton did, but I think, is there anything else other than those that were a real high flyer?
I think part of it was at least like it's not broken, don't fix it sort of thing. I would argue that it is broken, and that's why we do need to fix it. I think particularly again at West Runningbrook with instructional time, the busing issue at Pinkerton. But I do think that there were various voices at the table who all kind of took over the information too that was gathered in the 1,400 surveys. It was a lot of information to comb through, but.
And we did have representation of, if I remember correctly, it was 2 school board members. It was elementary school, middle school, high school, intermediate school. So there was somebody who had a seat at the table and this obviously was all volunteer. And like Jen said, they all did present. There was interest of childcare. There was interest of getting out to work in time, which is part of the bargaining agreement that's coming in for the other teachers and stuff. So everything did come to the table, but at the end of the day, when we had to kind of weigh things out, it was what was in obviously the best interest of the students and the best interest that was going to meet both the busing and the time needs.
Yeah, so I would say I think this is a great idea. I think anything that we can do that doesn't hurt student achievement or help student achievement, we need to look at. Clearly, there's been a lot tonight. There's a lot of discussion on student achievement and what we're seeing. So anything that we can do to help that, I'm all in favor for. And this seems like another lever to pull to try to make that happen. The one thing I would say is, we've done I think over the years, we've done several things to try to see that gap or make improvements that we want to see. One thing I would say that I don't hear a lot of is people have to remember student achievement's a shared responsibility, right? Our district and parents as well play a role in this responsibility. So one thing when we talk about test scores and student achievement, this is a collaborative effort between our district and our families. And so just want to, I don't hear that a lot. I just want to kind of articulate that to whoever's watching.
I think this type of move has serious impact, right? Not only on the adults, but on the kids, positively, however it may be. This is one that's not going to make everyone happy, right? This is one of those that people are going to email about the complaint, about the change of time or whatever it may be, but there is also significant people that are very thankful for this. So we try and thread that needle as best we can. But if you go back to the core of where we started, it's instructional time. Specifically at West, there were some challenges, and it's gonna solve some of our scheduling conflicts that arise throughout the day.
All right, thank you, everyone. I mean, I would echo everyone in thanking everyone that was involved in putting this proposal together, you know, the months of work, everyone who submitted survey responses, everybody who served on the task force, the administrators who put together the final proposal. Now, I know this is something we wanted to be done as deliberatively and with as much public input as possible, because we know that this is going to affect every family, every employee differently. So, you know, thank you to everyone for all the work that went into that. You know, the proposal itself, I think there's a lot to like about this. You know, we've been one of the earliest starts for middle school for many years now. This is hopefully going to get kids more rest. You know, it's going to get them to school on time, you know, protect that instructional time, cut down on the number of kids who are heading to school in the dark in the midwinter months, you know, and ease some of those transportation issues. So if there are no more questions or comments, I will take a motion to change the student day to the following, beginning with the 2026-27 school year. 7:55 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. at the middle school level, 8 a.m. to 2:35 p.m. at the intermediate school level, and 8:50 a.m. to 3:10 p.m. at the elementary school level.
So moved.
First by Jen.
Second.
Second by Jenna. Any further discussion? Not hearing any, we will take a vote on the motion on the table. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries 6-0-1. All right, so thank you everyone for that. As a result of this proposal, the administration has been engaged in impact bargaining with our two unions over the past several weeks. So I will turn it back over to Mike to discuss the two MOUs reached with their memberships.
Yeah, so as I explained, alluded to a little bit earlier, once you reach a certain threshold and you change the actual working time as the employer, we have to enter into something called a impact bargaining, right? So it's not negotiation, but because what we're doing, how it will impact the faculty and the staff, I have to say both DEA and AFSCME were first class. If I'm being really honest, they came to the table with all the ideas. That always makes my job a lot easier on my side, rather trying to figure out what they want. They were very forthcoming, and we really worked together to try and support them in this transition. So I've reviewed this with you a couple meetings ago, and this evening I showed you the AFSCME impact. I would just ask for a recommendation to accept the MOUs as presented. And if you have questions, feel free. But they were the leadership was outstanding.
All right, did anyone have any questions about either of the MOUs?
Do we have to discuss the MOUs individually or just?
You'll vote on them individually. I encompass them both in the discussion. Yep.
Yep. So if there are no further questions for Mike about either MOUs, we'll do two votes here. So I would ask for a motion to approve the memorandum of agreement between the district and the Derry Education Association as presented.
So moved.
First by Jen.
Second.
Second by Jenna. Any further discussion? We will take a vote on the motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries 7-0. Next up, well, we've already discussed the AFSCME MOU, so I think we can just move straight to the vote.
Forward, yep.
So I will ask for a motion to approve the memorandum of agreement between the district and the Derry Education Assistants, AFSCME Council 93, Local 1801, as presented.
So moved.
First by Jen.
Second.
Second by Jenna. Any further discussion? Not hearing any, we will take a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries 7-0. Thank you again to everyone for their hard work on this.
We will be sending out communication both from my office as well as building offices, principals, so that we continue to repeat this message for the remainder of this year. People will see it several times, so no one's caught off guard. And then as the new busing schedules are developed, those will be communicated out. But you're going to continue to hear this message repeatedly so that everyone's aware. With that, I'm on to policy EBBB, presented a couple board meetings ago. We made a few changes in regards to accident reports on who it is reported to and the seriousness of the injury rather than death. We changed it to serious. So if no other questions, I would ask you to adopt EBBB as presented.
All right, I will accept a motion to approve policy EBBB, accident reports as presented.
So moved.
Second.
First by Jen, second by Jamie. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries 7-0. All right, our last item up for deliberation is board committee nominations. I had mentioned at the last meeting that I would be gathering interest in committees and bringing forward nominations tonight. So board policy BDB sets the appointment of committees subject to approval of the board as a duty of the chair. So I have presented the board with a list of committees and liaison positions which we will form for the 2026-27 year and appointments for each. We will form 5 standing committees with 3 board members each, one serving as co-chair with a member of the administration. Those will be the Communications Committee, the Curriculum and Assessment Committee, the Facilities Committee, Finance Committee, and Policy Review Committee. These committees will coordinate with the administration members appointed by Mike to set a schedule of monthly meetings for the year ahead. In addition to the standing committees, we will have a Transportation Appeal Committee of 3 board members that will meet with the transportation coordinator as needed to hear appeals under board policy EEA. And we will have an ad hoc committee formed to negotiate a new agreement with AFSCME, the union representing education assistants, as their current agreement is up at the end of the 2026-27 year. The board also assigns liaisons to a handful of external organizations. Board policy BCEA sets appointments to these liaison positions after discussion with the board as a duty of the chair. We have a voting member and a non-voting member sitting on the next charter school board of directors, 2 members sitting on the executive board of the 21st Century Learning Community Corporation Executive Board, and 3 members sitting on the town's legislative task force. So I will ask for a motion to accept the list of committees and appointments that you've been provided, and then we can discuss before we take a vote.
So moved.
Well, I'll ask for the motion first. I'll accept a motion to approve the board committees, appointments to those committees, and appointments to the external liaison positions for the 2026-27 board year as presented. First by Jamie.
I just want to make sure that the 21st century has been changed because it's still
Yes,
here.
it was updated in the folder.
Okay, I didn't get the update one, sorry.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Jen. Any discussion?
I'd like to know why you removed committees. The committees were set by the board, so you don't really have the power to just remove them without talking to the board about it.
Well, I'm asking tonight to approve forming these committees for the upcoming
So I think
year.
we should add the Pinkerton committee back. I think we need a special education committee, and I would also like to see the building and grounds committee added back in.
Wouldn't that fall under facilities? No?
It was different.
Oh, okay.
We would tour the schools, we would see what was needed, or what, we could talk to Jeremy about it. It's completely different. Facilities has taken on a whole different role than building and grounds.
But can't facilities then just incorporate?
I don't know,
whoever's-
I'm just asking.
Okay.
I believe facilities and buildings and grounds were merged maybe 3 years ago into one single committee. And that again was brought forward as the, proposals from the chair for the committees for that year. The Special Education Committee, I believe, the last incarnation was formed around a study that was done in 2018, and it was supposed to move forward with looking at the recommendations of that study. I think what I would say to adding any additional committees at this time is, I think we're obviously not going to go back to the days where we had 15 plus standing committees. We need to be careful first.
Are you making that decision, or are we as a group?
We are approving the list of committees that I put forth, and if somebody wants to make a motion to add an additional committee, then by all means, you can make that
Your
motion.
statement was, we're not going back to that. It wasn't. we're
That would be
discussing
my
it.
preference. That is what I am proposing.
Okay, that's your preference.
Can I ask
Yes.
Oh man, I kind of just forgot. So special ed, I wasn't here. I don't know what happened on those committees. How often did the special ed committee meet? Was it like a very intensive, demanding committee?
The original special ed committee was very demanding. We did a lot of work around programs and repairing a lot of bad feelings. We had parents, teachers, and administrators on the committee, school board members. It was an excellent committee. We made a lot of change, and actually Chris Kellen was our special ed director then, and he was on the committee as well. We made a lot of positive changes to special education and brought in new programs, eliminated programs that were not beneficial. We built a lot of bridges with parents and families. It was a very good committee. We did end it during COVID.
Oh,
because
a lot of things
people
ended
couldn't
during
meet.
COVID, yeah.
Exactly.
And so that sounds more like a task force, right? Because it wasn't just board members.
Right, and there was a lot of discussion from parents that they were going to start their own group, special education group, if we didn't support them in a committee. And it just made more sense for us to have a committee, understand why people were upset or not upset, what people liked, what they didn't like, and bring those things forward.
Okay.
It was a good discussion.
Who consisted, like, who did this committee consist of? How many?
Parents, teachers, administrators, special ed director, school board.
So if you were to want to bring that back and say, make a motion to bring back special ed, are you offering to then chair that committee and then set up that committee and reach out to everybody to make it?
Absolutely.
Okay.
So this sounds to me more like it would be a task force or a
Right.
temporary ad hoc committee that
I don't
would.
see it as temporary. We have a high special education population in our district. We need to have a connection for families to understand we used to have workshops for parents. This is what you need to look for in an IEP. This is what you need to tell us if you don't understand. There was a lot of more collaboration. I don't see it as temporary at all. And if we don't do it, that's okay. There will be a committee of parents that form, and that's a whole nother situation.
I think we also want to make sure that we're not treading into areas where we're micromanaging the superintendent and the administration and getting into his ability to lead the day-to-day operations of the district. You know, whether or not we have a standing committee of board members, it doesn't prevent the board from providing oversight in the area, you know, whatever the area of concern may be. You know, if we want to ask Mike to have the the Student Services Department form a task force or a focus group to, you know, with parents to look into, you know, where the concerns lie with special education. That's certainly something that we can ask the administration to do. And board members can be a part of that. But whether or not we need to have standing committee for every concern, I don't know that that level is necessary.
My personal opinion, I think that if Brenda sees a need of this and has something that she has been a part of before, that she saw something's beneficial and she's willing to chair it and take the lead on it, I don't see an issue. I think if she wants to reach out and do that and whatever comes from it, obviously it's only as good as however long, you know, Brenda's on the board, and then, you know, if the board changes over, and then they would have to come up onto the next board when they vote on it. But as of now, I think that if she sees a need for it and wants to run with it, I am not opposed to it.
Sorry, Michael, may I have it?
Go ahead.
I would just reiterate what Michael said, because I believe that we really need to define clear lanes between the board's job and the superintendent's job. The superintendent runs the day-to-day operations of the district. I believe it's the superintendent's job to make sure that the special education department is clearly communicating what the purpose of an IEP is, how to advocate for a child who may need more services for their IEP. I don't see that as a board member's job. I think that we need to be very clear about lanes when we create committees and the purpose of them and the tasks that we hope to complete when we have these committee work, because I also think that we need to be mindful of school board members' times. This is a volunteer job essentially in the community, and I think that we provide a great deal of oversight to Mike and to the team that works under him.
I would say, too, that the board is going to meet for goal setting within the next few months, and we're going to lay out our goals for the coming year. if as a part of that discussion, we agree on a goal that would necessitate forming a committee, we could flesh out what the work around that goal is going to be, what the tasks would be, and then, once we've had that in-depth conversation and really fleshed out what the goal is, what the committee would do, if we want to take a vote to form that committee, we can form a committee at any time during the year. We don't need to form a committee tonight. That's not the last opportunity that we have to form a committee until next March.
Okay, but we are talking about, and you specifically said that it's more of a task force than it is a committee.
And that may be the conclusion that we come to.
Of course, this is the one specific thing. She had mentioned a couple other committees, the Pinkerton. And
Our contract we'll be doing our contract in 2027. Makes no sense to dissolve that committee right now.
Did we ever
Well,
meet?
again,
but it never.
Weren't we on that committee?
we can form an ad hoc committee specifically to negotiate the contract with Pinkerton, and then it would dissolve when that work is done.
So can I ask, other school boards around New Hampshire, do they have a special education
Some do.
task force?
Yes.
Some do. I mean, most boards have in the range of 5 to 8 committees, and some have a special education committee. Some have committees that we don't have. A lot have committees that we have. It kind of depends on the needs.
And what was the third one, Brenda?
Building and grounds.
Okay, that one, I feel like if we want, I don't know who's on facilities? Who was the?
That is David, Jen, and myself.
Okay. If that came down to, if there are building tours or whatever, and we can go off and do that on our own as school board members. So if we want to go take tours or we want to do something and there's something of interest, we can follow down that. But I feel like facilities covers that. But I think the one that's really standing out, and Pinkerton, obviously, we go to our meetings. I'm not, and we haven't met with them in a year, but I think the special ed one is one that is, I see it as being a need, and I see what Jen is saying about, staying in a lane and making sure that people are doing what they need to be doing. But I, again, would say that if Brenda wants to lead this task force and she wants to reach out to administration and whoever and wants to set this, then I don't see the need to push back on this, especially if there's one school board member and other administrators. If she wants to lead this, then I say that she can start this back up. That's my personal opinion.
How would it work, though? Because the other entities would also have to agree to this, right?
Well, she'd have to take that on and then
Okay.
engage
Again,
interest.
I mean, what I would recommend is that we don't hastily form any new committees tonight. Like I said, we will have our goal-setting meeting within the next couple of months, where we'll sit down and we'll really have an in-depth conversation about our goals for the upcoming year. And if the board comes to a decision that we want to set a goal around special education and form a committee, whether it be an ad hoc committee or a task force, or to instruct the administration to conduct focus groups or whatever that may be, I would suggest that we put it off until that time when we can have a really in-depth discussion about it.
I mean, and based on that, I wasn't asked if we should just get rid of transportation committee. You know what I mean? So I guess I'm with Brenda on that. Like, where's the balance? Where do we all come together as the school board and decide what committees are important, what committees are not important? Or is that just a chair and a vice chair decision? Because that's what it seems it was. It was like all of a sudden there's no transportation committee, which I really think we need that right now, especially with the electric buses coming come December. There's going to be a lot of parents with questions.
Well, I just, first of all, committee work is the board, right? I want to be honest, but also committees only advisory towards the board, right? Committees don't make wholesale decisions. They only bring recommendations forward to the board for discussion as a whole. I want to also, and I know our attorney's here to do some training around committee work specifically. I just want to say, like, publicly, if people have questions, they should be reaching out to me and my team. We're the people that are operating the district. We're the ones that know the answers or have the solutions or trying to work with the community. So I just want to be careful of what the purpose of the committee is and behind. The special ed committee, we didn't have one in Hopkinton, we didn't have one in Hampstead, we had one in Timberlane. Like, it is a district by district decision on what committees want to run. I think we're still trying to establish new norms of committee work if I'm being honest and I'm being reflective on my first year, I'm not sure what occurred previously through committees and goals and objectives and the purpose behind. We're really trying to level set on what they are. That's just me coming from this chair in regards to the management of all of the committees, because they're not board committees, they end up being administration committees. And we have to be able to manage all the workload on top of the operations of the district and things like that. So as you're discussing this, I just wanted to kind of add a couple points from this seat, that's all.
Thank you, Mike. And I mean, I think that kind of goes back to a point that I made earlier, in that just because we don't have a committee for something doesn't mean that we're not working on that issue. You know, like, a committee is just advisory. If there is something where there is a lot of work, a lot of research that needs to be done, perhaps around a goal that we set, we can form a committee, and then, you know, that committee does the in-depth work on that issue to bring forward whatever it may be suggesting to the board. You know, because committees don't make decisions, only the entire board makes decisions. And, you know, Mike makes a point too, in that the work of committees, you know, bringing things forward to committees, attending the meetings, setting the agenda, a lot of that does fall on the administration. And we need to be mindful of their time, and we need to respect the fact that they're doing their jobs. You know, that they're getting these things done without us sitting over their shoulder and telling them what to do. You know, we give them a broad direction, and Mike and his team runs the day-to-day operation of the district. And we want to make sure that we're not micromanaging every little thing that they do.
So do we like vote on it even
So
though?
we have a motion on the table to accept the committees as proposed. Like I said, if anybody wants to make a motion to add a new committee tonight, we can do that, but I would recommend postponing any decision to add any additional committees until the goal-setting meeting, and where we can really hash out our goals, and if we need a committee to address the work to reach those goals.
So say we vote tonight as is without special ed committee, and we decide to add that, I'm assuming we would have to vote again at that time to approve it.
Yeah, we would come out of the goal-setting meeting, and then that would be one of the first steps toward working toward that goal for the next year, would be establishing that committee and, you know, appointing members to it. You know, Mike and his team would appoint their members to it, and then we would set a schedule of meetings for it. It would set its own goals, and then it would be off to the races.
Okay.
So we had a motion on the table to accept the goals as presented. Did we get a first or a second? I don't even remember at this point.
So moved.
Yeah.
But first by Jenna.
Second.
Second by Jen. Is there any further discussion? All right, we will take a roll call vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
No.
Motion passes 6-1. All right, our next order of business is administration reports. First up is Jane with the business administrator's update.
Okay, I've included in your board packet my executive summary, and just as a note, the timing is always going to be off with the financial report and my administrative update, just because of the timing and when we issue checks. So as of when I wrote this report, we had received Pinkerton Academy's bill, which was the final bill of the year. It includes general tuition, resource, and all of their specialized programming. And I also, so that you could see the comparisons of what we budgeted and what the actual student enrollments were, I've included in your board packet a spreadsheet that I've worked on for the last several years, just so that you can see those comparisons. And as you know, I think we mentioned at the last meeting, we started out the beginning of the year having over 40 students more than we budgeted, and we ended the year having about 9 students more than we budgeted for general tuition. So if you just want to look at that historical information, that's included for you. And also, I've included some of our special education costs that we've been following each month, and we're watching those closely. This is also the time of the year where we are looking at all of our open purchase orders, going through them, modifying, making sure that everything is a valid open encumbrance for the district. So these numbers are going to change in the next month or two. Also, we've included your interest on both the general checking account, which is, as you remember, we have a Citizens Bank account and a PDIP for the general account. And as of the time of the report, we had earned $139,000. The PDIP account for the bond project has earned $584,000. If you remembered in the board vote for 26-27, we voted to be able to retain $700,000 of the interest earned of the bond. So our projections are that we will definitely meet that goal by the end of the fiscal year. So we're right on track with the projections of that. I also included some of the expenses for bond projects that were paid out in the month of March. We just had some payments to Jobin Construction, and actually that was 2 months' worth that were paid in March. South Range had some engineering work done by Gale Associates for $4,500, and we had LaValle Brensinger doing some work. Those are the architects, in the amount of $5,700, and that was to work on the specs to get ready to go out to bid for East Derry, Barca, and Gilbert H. Hood, and that's for the doors and window replacements. Lastly, on that report, we'd like to remind everybody regarding the free and reduced applications. Christina actually brought 2 today to me that were both approved, but those were actually direct certified because they were approved through SNAP. And as a reminder, I'd like to make sure SNAP is the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program run through the state. So people apply to that directly. And although these 2 families filled out an application with us, it actually would come as a direct certification from the state as well. So we're happy that those are getting forwarded to us. Christina continues to send out notices to families or families that seem to be struggling with their accounts to make sure that she gets them to apply for free and reduced. So we feel comfortable with that. Also included in your packet, aside from Pinkerton Academy, I've also put in the 24-25 full audit. That's 57 pages of the financials, and also, and that was for 24-25. I've also included the single audit for 24-25. Again, that focus for the single audit was focused on IDEA, which is our special education federal grant, as well as our ESSA program, because we had more than $700,000 in that program as well. And there was one other representation letter that was included in there, which had to do with long-term leasing in GASB 87. So I just wanted to make mention of those. Of course, in all of those audits, because the same finding is going to be there with regards to being a super user, but I'm very proud, I'm over it, but I'm very proud of the audit because there are no other findings in either of those audits, and while it's only 57 pages, it's a ton of work and a lot of hours of preparing and getting through an audit, and so I just want to make sure that I thank the staff in the finance department, Glenn Simon, Steve Schaefer, Patty Doyle, Mary Webster, and Tracy Lorette. They're an amazing group of people in that department, and they do a lot of work on a daily basis to make sure that our finances are in good standing order and meeting governmental accounting standards. So just really proud of them. And that's all. I also included the general fund expenditures, general fund revenues, and that is it. That's all that was included in there. Any questions?
Briefly, oh, go ahead.
Sorry. What's the closing date for the free and reduced applications for this year? Do you know?
That people can apply for?
Closing date for the free and reduced applications.
Free and reduced applications?
I think it's rolling.
Yeah, I don't think there's a closing date, so they can apply right till the end of.
Okay.
I think it was on the only reason I know this is because I dropped off so many applications. And it was on the application.
Then I don't have that, but I will find it for you.
It's definitely before the end of the school year. And also, do we know what happened to 31 students at Pinkerton?
I'm going to speak to that.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Taking a note. Okay, so in your packet is the trend we shared at Finance, if you recall, in regards to enrollment at Pinkerton, and David asked some great questions about it too. I think this is great data that Jane has just tracked internally, and we've kind of spoke about it through the budgeting process in regard to maybe some new norms. And interestingly, when we talked about it at Finance, if you go back to, let's just say the difference in 18-19, we were over budgeted, like we over budgeted the amount of money by 86 students. And then last year, it was all the way down to 20, a difference of 20. Going into this year, you heard us from the beginning, we were under, like we did not budget enough for 42, but now we're only at 9. Now, I just want to communicate that. That means when we got billed, the first bill, we had to pay for an additional 42, right? It's not, even though the numbers have gone down since we're reporting out, we still paid that bill. What happens between then and now is a couple things. One is graduation, so students that may not have fulfilled their requirement prior to the end of last year, we have to pay for that next semester. Some may have dropped and went to high set, some may have relocated, moved, and some may have homeschooled. So there's a variety of factors that we're seeing. The more significant one that we've been noticing is graduation, high set, and then drop to homeschool. So that's how those numbers tend to reduce. I've been saying, and I'll still say it, that I think next year will become the new trend that we're seeing with the people that access the EFAs or go to charter K-8 and then drop into Pinkerton as a freshman. I think that'll become the new trend line. And then I think through the budgeting process this fall, we'll have a little bit more of an articulate answer because we already have that first bill by the time we're coming around. So does that answer where most of them go?
Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, what's interesting here is, if I'm doing my math right, 22 of the students that have dropped since the first billing are in 10th and 11th grade.
Yeah, and there, it could be a reloco.
So you figure that they're going somewhere.
Yep. Yeah.
Do we get any, so you said we already paid for those students, though? We don't get a partial reimbursement or anything?
Because you pay them, they bill you for the days they attend.
Okay, so we didn't pay for the entire year up front for them?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep, that's the reduction in those numbers.
I mean, the good news here is you budgeted $13.74 to start next year. We're at $13.54, so we're starting on a good number for next year.
Yep.
We've got a cushion of 20, so that's good.
Yeah, and that's what we really emphasized in the fall was just allowing us to carry over our 8th grade, and then let's see what happens. So. Thanks, everybody.
Jane, I just want to say this is good information, good stuff, very high level, good summary level to kind of look at it and really easily see where we're at. So if I'm reading it right, we're about $1.4 million to the good if everything ended today, June 30, if this was June 30.
Yep.
That's good. That's typically where we run. That's nothing out of the ordinary. So that's a good thing. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jane. You had a lot tonight.
Any more questions? I think we'll move on to Mike's update.
We had a lot of work out there. Interestingly, I wasn't going to mention much, but the two this evening that came up, the 5 to 6 sports by Derek, I appreciate Derek coming. It's something that's come onto my radar in the last 48 hours. We had something occur, can't get into details obviously, but I learned new tri-county rules that really impact some of the decision, but I also learned that the goal is to move away from tri-county into NHIAA rules, which will allow a lot more flexibility of what Derek was mentioning. In regards to those accounts, we've actually overspent, right, on like clubs and activities, right? Because we've been fulfilling anything that comes forward. So any requests that come forward, whatever club it may be, we're paying for it and we're figuring out where to locate the funds and transfer it over. So I want to commend everyone at West that's been going above and beyond and trying to create new activities for the students. We have a new field hockey club that's in the motion. So some of the challenge that Derek mentioned, having low numbers at 7-8, we want to keep kids involved, so they're working on creating a field hockey club. Not that that's the long-term solution, but it's definitely on the radar. And then, the data is always interesting, right? Data is what you make of it. I think that the challenging part that we face in our profession, and I've said it before, is the state data is what we typically get reported out on, and more specifically, it's on the ballot now. So there's no running from it, and we're not trying to run from it. I think I like the idea that, we've been talking about it internally, but Mr. Tripp mentioned it as well, of trying to find the right points of the year with the board to report out on some type of data, right? Because we have our own internal data. We do our own assessments, and our own assessments are far higher than the state assessments because we're targeting what we're educating or what we're teaching, and it's really scaled to what we're doing. And then I never want to get too far away from what we're creating, right? Data is one thing, but as you saw this evening, I'll continue to emphasize it as we bring students. We brought fourth graders that have leadership that we're developing. Where's the data on that, right? That's showing the skills that we're doing for our students. Or what, I mean, my bow tie guy who came up, Guanci, Mr. Guanci there, and was like, anyone have any more questions? That's called confidence, and we're instilling it somewhere. So I'm never going to run from it. I'm never going to be afraid of it. The internal goals that we have through the curriculum department on raising the standard, and I'll keep saying we're going to raise the bar around here, and we're going to expect big things. So I don't want anyone to think that we're trying not to answer those questions. We're just trying to figure out where we're going and how to get there, and we're doing a lot of good things internally. So 2 weeks April break, it's a big thing for us. It's been a long stretch for us in this world. New England, we love talking about the weather, but the weather does impact us with our operations. A lot of inside recess creates a lot of long days, creates a lot of antsy stuff. It's been a long stretch since February break, so I think everyone's looking to kind of letting the steam out and coming back for the last stretch of 7 weeks. So that's it from us.
Thanks, Mike. Yeah, to go back to the sports thing, when we were going through the restructuring, there were some, casual discussions of the idea of an alliance with the other districts that have 5-6 schools, which I think is Wyndham, Bedford, Hooksett, I think, has a 5-6 school, where that the 5-6, you'd form a 5-6 team, and they would travel with the middle school teams to, go play the 5-6 team at those other schools. And I think that there might have been some preliminary discussions with those districts about this idea. So, that's something I think would be interesting to look into.
Sure. I think the challenge is it wasn't on my radar until it is, right? So this thing that popped up is a benefit. So now I've started to ask questions and recall the conversations that were happening previous to, this is the challenge, right? I'm new, I'm still new. I get to play that card for a couple more months. So it's like, all right, well, why was it made then, and what can we do differently? Because I am, and that's why we've spent all the money. I want kids engaged. I want them busy. Nothing good happens from sitting around. I was a busybody myself, so anything that we can provide is an opportunity. I think going to NHIA really allows a lot of flexibility within the districts and the schools. And we're going to run into new challenges then, right? So how do we get kids from one building to the next? Only kids that have, there's still other things that are going to be created, but we want to keep kids busy. We want to have full teams. Or, the boys lacrosse team that didn't run at Hood, we talked about, do we join with Hampstead? And then you ran into those. So those discussions are being had, but we have to come to some better answers of what's going on now. So we're on it.
All right. Any more questions for Mike? We will move on to committee and liaison reports. First up will be Jen with an update from the Curriculum and Assessment Committee.
The last meeting of the Curriculum Committee was on Thursday, March 26th. Feels like a very long time ago now. There were 2 topics of conversation during that meeting. First was the discussion of the public-facing guides, and the second was the 3-year rolling curriculum review. Both of these topics address school board goals for this year. The first topic was really a status update about the public-facing guides. Once approved, these guides will be available on the district website, and they will cover K-8 and all content areas. Kim provided an update on where she's at with those guides, and the committee decided to essentially make this like a 2-tier process rather than having them all completed at once and then published. There'd be like a process by which the first tier overview is provided, and then a second, more deeper dive tier would be added on after the fact once they're completed. So Kim provided an update about that goal. And then the second topic of discussion and the bulk of the conversation was about the 3-phase rolling curriculum review process. We started calling it a 3-year rolling curriculum review, but really it's a 3-phase process. Again, this directly relates to one of the school board's goals in the curriculum area for this year. Kim walked us through a draft of what she's created, and that draft basically articulates the purpose of the review, the steps involved in each phase of the process, the stakeholders involved in the process, and the evaluation criteria for the curriculum review. I want to give a very sincere thank you to Kim for the work on this protocol. I was very pleased with the progress that's been made in developing this review process. The committee members were able to weigh in with feedback on the framework that Kim developed. I believe the district as a whole and the curriculum department in particular are all striving to be more data-driven, evidence-based, and forward-thinking in our decision-making. And this development of a 3-phase rolling curriculum review is a very positive step forward in ensuring that we're heading in that direction. I was also very pleased to see that teachers will play an active role in this process because I believe that they know the curriculum needs of our students the best. And it is so critical to have teacher buy-in when we are investing in new curriculum programming in and resources within the district. I'd also like to highlight, because again, I know Mike just mentioned it in his own superintendent update, but this rolling curriculum review as a school board goal doesn't directly relate to assessment scores or provide a data point for assessment scores. But I would like to highlight that when a process like this is followed with fidelity, the result is an investment in quality curriculum programming and resources that teachers support, that they're excited to use and to teach with in the classroom, that will elevate instruction in the district, and that will result in higher assessment scores in our district. Finally, I'd like to say that I've enjoyed co-chairing the curriculum committee with Kim over the past, 9 months now. It hasn't been a full year, but I'd say for 9 months, Kim and I have collaborated on this committee together. I really enjoyed my time co-chairing with Kim. I'm passing the baton to Jenna as curriculum chair. I'm not going anywhere. I remain steadfast in my commitment to the curriculum area. I look forward to continuing to make contributions to that committee, and I'm very excited about the direction that we're heading in this realm.
Mike, I totally forgot my real important part was enrollment update. Brenda asked me about it. Can I go back to that? Okay. So Brenda had reached out about an enrollment. It's kind of a big deal. Had reached out about an enrollment update. I think more importantly, it's in your packet, which is fine, but I'd like to focus on the kindergarten enrollment, if you don't mind, really quickly. This year we changed our practice, not opening enrollment until after February break. I would say that was a benefit for us. We got a lot more people that were paying attention. So rather than a trickle-in effect, we had a pretty hard hit quickly. So I think our numbers are settling in. Interestingly, we're probably going to have some discussions as a board in May. As you can see, the number of enrollees at Barca is at its highest ever right now at 90. And actually East Derry is at nearly 70. So when we talk about overflow, it's been Barca the last couple of years. It's not going to be Barca this year, right? If you're looking at the other schools, those numbers are lower. So we're going to have discussions on what do we do with overflow, if that's where it heads, or are we talking about adding a teacher or moving a teacher, those types of discussions. So we want to find a balancing act. At kindergarten, if I'm being honest with this group, it's weird to me still because the thought of overflow, it doesn't sit well with me. I want to try and make sure that kids are going to where they're going to be. It's hard to send someone one year and then move them back the next, right? So we're trying to find that line of what we can accommodate and what we can see. So you can look for, principals and us are already on it, but we might come for some recommendations on May on trying to evaluate that. So everything else is pretty standard in there. If you have any questions, sorry about that.
All right. Jenna, Finance Committee update.
You know, I have to say that trying to take the baton from Jen with curriculum and how she writes, I'm going to sadly follow behind because here I come from finance and everything I have to say is everything that Jane always says. So I have no real update because basically we talked about the full and single audit being completed. We talked about the Pinkerton numbers, which she's already gone over, the 9 student difference. That she did also mention that we were down in special ed numbers as well. And if I'm correct, my numbers I have down, we were at 241 and now we're at 222. Does that sound right, Jane? Yes, okay. So there's one bit of information. And Mike did mention that we are going to start discussing end of year projects, such as the intercom system that is hopefully going to get put into the schools, and that was still, I guess, being researched. I'm not sure where we are in that.
We still have people evaluating it, and then the bids will be coming in. But that's a great point. If you don't mind, can I really quickly.
Yeah.
So what I'll be doing in May is coming to you with a list of, I'll call them hanging chads, the things that have been hanging out there repeatedly. And we'll come with more of a balance. I know David brought it up of what we have to deal with. So you can make a recommendation to do a project. You can make a recommendation to retain, like all of those fun things you get to do. But I want to start it in May so that you can have decisions either the second meeting in May or the meeting in June. So thanks for the reminder.
Yep. And that was pretty much what we covered in finance. And I will be passing the baton, thankfully, over to David. No? Oh,
Karen.
man. Oh, Karen. Oh, okay. Karen, have fun.
All right, and I believe we had a next Charter School Board of Trustees meeting.
No, I
Do
make
you
us
have anything
fun.
to report from that?
The one thing I do have to say, I feel so bad for next. The leak that Hood had.
The flood.
The flood. Yeah, the flood. The flood really did a number downstairs because, of course, next is in the basement. So they had a lot of damage in some of the back rooms. That piping hot water came down and dissolved their ceiling tiles and went directly into their ceramics room, where all of the kids had all of their projects that had just recently been completed, but before they were put in the kiln, they were all ruined. Thankfully, obviously, it was done on a weekend and no children were hurt, so that's the upside, but they did, there's a lot of drywall that needs to be replaced. All their projects were gone. It's missing ceiling tiles, so that was kind of tough. But thankfully, it didn't touch any of the new side that they just had completed. So if it's not one thing, it's another. The one really cool thing I'd like to highlight that we got to see was that they have a new program there that a bunch of sewing machines have been donated to the program, and somebody's coming in to volunteer and is teaching the kids how to do quilting. So they're working it as part of their competency. They're either writing about it or they're doing math involved in it. They're working as part of their program, but some of the work that they're doing is just stunning. All the materials have been donated. Like I said, the sewing machines, and they're taking time to make these beautiful quilts, and they're donating them to, I believe it was a hospital program, and also they're going to be making some lap blankets for like senior citizens that are being transported from like doctor's appointments that can't have full blankets. They just have nice little lap blankets, so that's their next project. So that was really nice to see. And the last thing is, I know that they have graduation coming up. They're going to have a whopping 11 students this year. This is one of their smaller classes that they've had. And of course, we'll be extending the invitation out to the school board and to administration. And they would very much like for Mr. Flynn to come and take a peek and go tour next, take a peek at the place, and then welcome you to their graduation.
Awesome.
All right, thank you, Jenna. Next order of business will be member updates and any other business. I have a couple of things to mention. First, the New Hampshire School Boards Association issued its call for resolutions that would be considered at the next delegate assembly in October. As a member board, we can submit proposed new resolutions or amendments to current resolutions. In the past, I know our Derry board has proposed a resolution relating to school meals that was adopted at the assembly. So if any member would like to suggest a proposed or amended resolution to submit, let me know. We can schedule it to be brought before the board. The deadline for submissions is July 3rd, so the board would need to act on that no later than our June 23rd meeting. And I'll also be looking for volunteers later in the year to attend the assembly as our voting delegate and alternate. I also want to note a couple of pieces of significant legislation to keep our eye on in Concord. SB 101 relative to open enrollment and HB 1563 relative to special education funding. Those continue to wind their way through the State House. So I would advise everyone to keep their eye on those two bills and advocate as you see fit. Did anyone else have anything for tonight?
I do. I went to Hood School. They had an author come in, and everybody read the book because of Mr. Terrap. This guy, he's a local author, Rob Bouye. He's from North Andover. Phenomenal. I can't say enough good things. Kim Conan, thank you very much for bringing this book forward. Very uplifting. He was right there where the kids are at. He met them there. Even to the point of AI and how a lot of people are now writing with AI, but it's not personal anymore, and he doesn't understand how that's going to happen. And it was just really cute what he did. But high energy, and very well done.
That's great. That's
And
awesome.
he signed my book.
It's awesome to hear about those kind of opportunities that our kids get in the district.
The only thing I would add is to Michael's point about watching different legislation. So we have a member of the audience who comes every week, or every meeting. I would encourage updates from your end too, Mr. Tripp. Since you're here, you can give us updates, what your thoughts are, and what we can do as a community to support efforts to our local school board. So keep that in mind next time you come to the meetings. So thank you.
Oh. I'll give you the opportunity.
Unfortunately, I don't sit on finance. I sit on judiciary. So if I have intimate knowledge on any bills, it's something that comes to the judiciary.
So how do you vote, Richard? If you don't have intimate knowledge, how do you vote?
I was going to tell you. And you were interrupting me. That's fine. I'm just going to sit down. And you had no.
All right, let's give Mr. Tripp the opportunity to explain, and then we'll leave it at that.
I spent a lot of time on our bills, and the other bills. I think we had. I think it was close to 100 bills one day. So I readily admit that I was not up to speed on all the bills, but I tried to, to read all the bills and look at the reports that the committees submit, after they exec them. So it's we're not. Everybody thinks that all we do up in Concord is eat cake and ice cream. That's not true. Sorry.
That's all right.
All right, thank you, Richard.
Thank you.
So if we have nothing else for tonight, our upcoming meeting schedule in May, we will meet on Tuesday, May 12th and Tuesday, May 26th, both at 6:30 p.m. here at the Municipal Center. That will wrap up our public agenda. The board will be going into non-public session tonight, so I would accept a motion to enter non-public session pursuant to RSA 91A, Section 3, Paragraph 2, Subparagraph L.
So moved.
First by Jen.
Second.
Second by Jenna. The statute requires a roll call vote. David?
Yes.
Karen?
Yes.
Jamie?
Yes.
Jenna?
Yes.
Jen?
Yes.
Brenda?
Yes.
Chair votes yes. Motion carries 7-0. The board will now move to the training room. Good night, everyone, and enjoy your April vacation.